Hi everyone, so in this video I want to talk a little bit about hyper-awareness. This is something which most people who are either ADHD, extreme introverts, people who suffer with anxiety have on a daily basis. And in my opinion, in my experience, what hyper-awareness is when you, wherever you are, whoever you're with, whatever time of year it is, you're always hyper-aware of everything around you and other people's emotions around you, and you're constantly scanning the environment, and you do this automatically, and this causes a lot of issues for people. And a lot of people think this is due to childhood trauma, like abuse and things like that, but myself, I didn't have much childhood trauma. I definitely wasn't abused. I think most of mine probably stem from school, because when you go in school there's like a bunch of mixed egos, children learning about themselves, and children are nasty sometimes, so you've always got to be aware of everything going on around you at school. And I think this is where it stemmed from with me. And if you've just got ADHD in general, which is lack of certain chemicals in the brain, this can just be a natural thing. But I'm sure you guys watching this will have experienced hyper-awareness at some point, and probably every day like I do. And I want to talk about some of the ways I deal with this, because it is hard to deal with sometimes. It does have its positive sides as well, which I'll go into. But some of the negatives first of hyper-awareness is you can get very anxious when you're out places, because you kind of scan the environment. You know everything going on around you all the time. If somebody's upset or two people are arguing, you can feel it. This is where the idea of empaths come from. People who are very empathetic have hyper-awareness because they're aware of all the different emotions going on around them at any specific point in time. And everywhere they go, they feel other people's emotions. There is arguments as to whether this is your own emotions and you're doing it to yourself. But in my eyes, it's kind of like you've got love inside you and you want to help people, so you feel their emotions and you feel bad for them. Because ultimately we're all one entity and consciousness is all one. So obviously people with hyper-awareness have the ability to notice what's going on, so they can possibly help people or help the world in ways like that. So what I struggled with, especially at school, was being aware of everything around me all the time, which obviously distracts you from the lessons and the teachings at school. School for me was more about just surviving each day, fitting in, trying to be someone that I wasn't, okay? And I think most people's mental health stems from school. Most people's bad mental health, especially adults, stems from school. Some people it's abuse, some people it's trauma, but most people it's school, because school, let's face it, in this day and age, isn't the way it should be, and we'll realise that in the future, and we'll start to implement new strategies for teaching rather than throwing a bunch of children in together to kind of have to survive in that environment, which is quite damaging, to be honest. But school was a very, very hard time for someone who's hyper-aware, and we're so hyper-aware of other people's emotions and things like that the lessons, basically, we couldn't focus on them. Like, I certainly couldn't focus on what the teacher was saying half the time. It might be because of my ADHD, but a lot of it is hyper-awareness, which is a main issue with ADHD. Also, when I go out places, if I go out, say, for a drink or for a coffee, I'm hyper-aware of everything going around us all the time. I scan the environment. Like, even now, as I'm doing this video, you'll see my eyes are going all over, because I'm constantly scanning the environment. My attention doesn't just fix in one specific place, like a lot of people's can. It's very, very hard to do this when you've got ADHD. And it's very hard to kind of fit in with societal norms, because most of the time you're in another world to everybody else because of this. So everybody kind of thinks that you're either on drugs or crazy. I got this a lot when I was at school. All my friends used to say, "Lee, are you on drugs?" Because I was kind of like constantly like looking around and not being in the present moment. And this can be quite damaging for our egos as we're growing up. Eventually you do lose the ego and you realise everything and why it's happened. But as you grow up, it's very hard, because obviously your ego is affected by this. Your whole life's affected by this. You have trouble with school, you have trouble with work. when you go to work you can't focus properly, so you switch from job to job because you find it hard to do specific jobs, especially repetitive ones. You get bored easily because you're aware of everything going on around you, so focusing on one specific thing becomes a bore to you because you're like, well, why do I want to focus on this one specific thing when I can see everything going on around us. You start to have holistic thinking, you start to see more than other people see, and this ultimately is a good thing as you evolve, but at the time you're dealing with it, when you're growing up, it's very, very hard to deal with. So hyper awareness is like, it's been a very, very big issue for me in my life. Obviously now, as I've grown and realized the good sides of this, I don't suffer with it as much, although I still have it. But now I've learned how to kind of use this ability to focus on the positives rather than negatives. So I can now like focus on positives happening everywhere around us rather than negatives. The negatives are still there, I still feel them, but eventually you learn how to realize that all the negatives are there for a specific reason, as well as the positives, and you start to come into a non-dualistic way of thinking where you realize that without the negatives there isn't the positives. So when you start to get that type of power in your consciousness, you can then choose what you want to focus on and use this hyper awareness to focus on that specific thing in ways and kind of in a powerful way which other people who don't have hyper awareness wouldn't understand, you see. So we're able to like kind of come out of society as such and start to focus on these specific things which other people are totally unaware of because they're still focused on one specific thing in a very limited aspect of consciousness. That's the only way I can describe that. So there is positives to this, guys. And the positives will come eventually. So don't worry about your hyper awareness because this hyper awareness is eventually going to lead to like kind of, I class them as superpowers, where you can literally just create your own reality in your mind because of everything you know, and holistic thinking and things like that. So it is a good thing as well, guys. What else was I going to say about hyper awareness? Oh yeah, there is specific medications that can stop this if you find it really hard to deal with, such as stimulants, the type of stimulants they give you for ADHD, like Ritalin here in the UK, dexamphetamine. Normal amphetamine is good for this if you take small doses, okay? But you have to be really careful with these stimulants, guys. Like, do not take them every day. I've always advised, don't take them every day. Don't get used to them too much. Just use them on days where you're having a bad day and take a very, very small dose. And what this will do is it'll just help you focus on one specific thing when you need to, okay? You kind of do know everything going on around you still when you're on these substances, but you can deal with it better. It doesn't cause as much anxiety because it opens your heart chakra, and you can kind of deal with it with more ease and feel more confident in yourself as well. And it kind of takes away all these negative emotions linked to the hypersensitivity as well. So if you have a chance to get these medications, just try them, take them on a bad day. Don't take them every day, but if you're having a good day, that's great. But yeah, what you'll find is as well with these medications, as you get used to dealing with this more and focusing on one specific thing, your mind will catch up as well, and then your mind will start doing it better after that as well, even if you don't take the medications. This has happened for me. I don't know if it's happened for everyone, but for me, because I'm so careful with them and I'm always constantly analysing the effects of these medications, and I've been able to kind of train my mind on them using small doses to cope with reality better after taking the medication as well. So it's just some of my thoughts there, guys, about hyper awareness and how I've dealt with it, guys. But if you're dealing with this, don't think of it as a bad thing. It's actually a good thing. The more you're aware of, the more you know about reality. And remember, knowledge is power. Even if you don't see it now, when you evolve, when you get older, you'll realize all this knowledge you can then implement in your life to make your life better with the use of this knowledge, because knowledge is power ultimately in this reality, as we're here to learn and evolve and progress our spirit to the higher levels of awareness, which ultimately leads to holistic thinking. And you are everything that possibly is in existence is already there. We just tune into them, and everything is all happening simultaneously. And we eventually get to these points in our evolution where we kind of, due to all our experiences and struggles in life, we kind of qualify for these superpowers, where we see everything holistically, and then we can use this knowledge and all this experience to create a better life for ourselves and go out every day and remove ourselves from societal norms and just enjoy ourselves the way we're truly meant to be, our true self, without all the corruption from other people, and etc. So leave your comments about your experiences with hyper awareness, and to help other people as well. And I look forward to the next video, guys. See you guys soon. Have a nice day.